This will be Tuesday, May 13th, advanced class. We just took the Ames web test. Yay, Ames web. And we're going to continue doing the introductions. We can practice the real part of Princess Bride. We're on page 13. If you're following along at home, it's hard to do. You don't have a book, so just use your imagination. Did you say clever, Willie? Oh, this is when William Golden had just met the starlet at the pool. And what is the starlet?
She's
famous
girl.
You translate it into a hot chick and you'll be good to go. So hot girl that he's supposed to not flirt with, and he does a good job not flirting with her by acting like an idiot. And creeping, because it's what you do. Did you say clever, Willie? It's Helen. I'm in a story conference, Helen, and we're speaking tonight at supper time. Why are you calling at lunch for? Hostile. By the way, was he in a story conference?
No.
So what's he doing?
Lying.
Why is he lying?
Because
He
he's
doesn't
a
want her to know
silent.
it. She's a hot chick.
Hot chick? Is what you do to your wife when there's a hot girl there? Come on, everyone knows that. Never argue with your wife about hostility when she's a certified Freudian, which means psychiatrist. It's just, they're driving me crazy with stupid notions in the story conference. What's up? Nothing, probably, except the Morgenstern's out of print. I've checked with Doubledays, too. You sounded kind of like it might be important, so I'm just letting you know Jason will have to be satisfied with this very fitting 10-speed machine. Not important, I say. Sandy Sterling was smiling from the deep end, straight at me. Thanks, though, anyway. I was about to hang up, then I said, well, as long as you've gone this far, call Argosy on 59th Street. They specialize in out-of-print stuff. Argosy, 59th. Got it. Talk to you at supper. She hung up. Without saying, no starlets now. Every call, she ends with that. And now she doesn't? Could I have given it away by something in my tone? Helen's very spooky about that, being a shrink and all. Guilt, like pudding, began bubbling on the back burner. I went back to my lounge chair, alone. Sandy Sterling swam a few laps. I picked up my New York Times, a certain amount of sexual tension in the vicinity. Done swimming? She asked. I put my paper down. She was by the edge of the pool now, nearest my chair. I nod, staring at her. Which Zanuck, Dick, or Daryl? It was my wife, I said, emphasis on the last word. Didn't faze her. She got out, lay down in the next chair, top-heavy but golden, if you like him that way. You had to like Sandy Sterling. I like him that way. We're out here, sir. You're out here on the 11, aren't you? Stepford Wives? I'm doing the screenplay. I really love that book. That's like my favorite book in all the world. I'd really love to be in a picture like that, written by you. I'd do anything for a shot at that. So there it was. She's putting it right out there on the line. Naturally, I set her straight fast. Listen, I don't do things like that. If I did, I would, because you're gorgeous. That goes without saying, and I wish you joy, but life's too complicated without that kind of thing going on. That's what I thought I was going to say. But then I figured, hey, wait a minute. What law is there that says you have to be the token Puritan of the movie business? I've worked with people who keep card files on this kind of thing. It's true. You can ask Joyce Haber. Have you acted a lot in features? I heard myself asking. Now you know I was really passionate to know the answer to that one. Nothing that really enlarged my boundaries, you know what I mean? Mr. Goldman? I looked up. It was the assistant lifeguard. For you again. He handed me the phone. Willie? Just the sound of my wife's voice sent sheer blind misgivings through each and every bit of me. Yes, Helen? You sound funny. What is it, Helen? Nothing, but... Well, it can't be nothing or you wouldn't have called me. What's the matter, Willie? Nothing is the matter. I was trying to be logical. I mean, you did, after all, place the call. I was merely trying to ascertain why. I can be pretty distant when I put my mind to it. You're hiding something. Nothing drives me crazier than when Helen does that. Because, see, with this horrible psychiatrist background of hers, she only accuses me of hiding things from her when I'm hiding things from her. Helen, I'm in the middle of a story conference now. Just get on with it. So there it was again. I was lying to my wife about another woman, and the other woman knew it. Sandy Sterling in the next chair smiled dead into my eyes. Argosy doesn't have the book. Nobody has the book. Goodbye, Willie. She hung up. The wife again? I nodded, put the phone on the table of my lounge chair. You sure talk to each other a lot. I know, I told her. "It's murder trying to get any writing done." I guess she smiled. There was no way I could stop my heart from pounding. "Chapter 1, The Bride," my father said. I must have jerked around or something, because she said, "Huh? My fa?" I began. "I thought I did." I began. "Nothing," I said finally. "That's easy," she said, and gave me a really sweet smile. She dropped her hand over mine for just a second, very gentle and reassuring. I wondered, was it possible she was understanding too? Gorgeous and understanding? Was that legal? Helen wasn't ever understanding. She was always saying she was. "I understand why you're saying that, Willie." But secretly, she was ferreting out my neuroses. No, I guess she was understanding. What she wasn't was sympathetic. And of course, she wasn't gorgeous, too. Skinny, yes. Brilliant, yes. "I met my wife in graduate school," I said to Sandy Sterling. "She was getting her Ph.D. Sandy Sterling was having a little trouble with my train of thought. "We were just kids. How old are you?" "You want my real age or my baseball age?" I really laughed then. Gorgeous and understanding and funny? "Fencing, fighting, torture," my father said. "Love, hate, revenge, giants, beasts of all natures and descriptions, truths, passion, miracles." It was 12:35, and I said, "All right, one phone call, okay?" "Okay." All right, I'll pause real quick, because I know that part gets confusing. He's in the process of doing what?
Getting a girl.
Right, flirting with the girl. The problem is, he's calling back home to get a present for his son. How's that going?
Not
well.
Not well. And so this has been his goal forever, to get this book for his son. So right now, he's having this whole internal conflict, this conscious thing about the fact that flirty, hot chick, or get present for his son. So the voice of his father would be what speaking to him?
The book.
Yeah, the guilty conscience, his father talking to him. That's why he's trying to weigh the two different sides. He's like, blinky, blinky, hot chick, blinky, blinky, connection to his father, who's now dead and now haunting him. So his dad's not actually talking to him. That's just his conscience being like, "You want the book? You want the book?" And so that's what he's trying to go back and forth between do the flirty or do the right thing. It was 12:35. I said, "One phone call, okay?" "Okay." "New York City information?" I said into the receiver. And when I was through, I said, "Could you give me the names of some 4th Avenue bookshops, please? There must be 20 of them." 4th Avenue is the used and out-of-print book center of the English-speaking chapter of the civilized world. While the operator looked, I turned to the creature on the next lounge and said, "My kid's 10 today. I'd kind of like for him to have this book from me. It's a present. Won't take a sec." "Swing," Sandy Sterling said. "I list one bookstore called the 4th Avenue Bookshop," the operator said, and she gave me the number. "Can you give me any of the others? They're all down there in a clump." "If you will give me their names, I can help you," the operator said, speaking bell talk. "Ah, this one will do," I said, and I got the hotel operator to ring through for me. "Listen, I'm calling from Los Angeles," I said, "and I need The Princess Bride by S. Morgenstern." "Nope, sorry," the guy said. And before I could say, "Well, could you give me the names of the other stores down there?" he hung up. "All right, give me that number back, please," I said to the hotel operator. And when the guy was on the line again, I said, "This is your Los Angeles correspondent. Don't hang up so fast this time." "I ain't got it, mister." "I understand that. What I'd like is, since I'm in California, could you give me the names and numbers of some of the other stores down there? They might have it, and there aren't exactly an abundance of New York Yellow Pages drifting around out here. They don't help me, I don't help them." He hung up again. I sat there with the receiver in my hand. "What's this special book?" Sandy Sterling asked. It's not important," I said, and hung up. Then I said, "Yes, it is," and picked up the receiver again. Eventually got my publishing house in New York, Harcourt Brace Jovanovich, and after a few more eventuallys, my editor's secretary read me off the names and numbers of every bookstore in the 4th Avenue area. "Hunters," my father was saying now. "Bad men, good men, beautiful as ladies." He was camped in my cranium, hunched over, bald and squinting, trying to read, trying to please, trying to keep his son alive and the wolves away. It was 1:10 before I had the list completed and rang off from the secretary. Then I started with the bookstores. Listen, I'm calling from Los Angeles on Morgenstern book, The Princess Bride, and sorry, busy signal. Not for years. Another busy. 1:35. Sandy's swimming, getting a little angry too. She must have thought I was putting her on. I wasn't, but it sure looked that way. Sorry, I had a copy in December. No so, man, sorry. This is a recorded announcement. The number you have dialed is not in working order. Please hang up. Nope. Sandy's really upset now, glaring, gathering debris. Who reads Morgenstern today? Sandy going, gorgeous, gone. Bye, Sandy. Sorry, Sandy. Sorry, we're closing. 1:55 now, 4:55 in New York. Panic in Los Angeles. Busy, no answer. Florines I got, I think, somewhere in the back. I sat up in my lounge chair. His accent was thick. I need the English translation? You don't get much call from Morgenstern nowadays. I don't know anymore what I got back there. You come in tomorrow, you look around. I'm in California, I said. Meshuggah, he said. It would mean just a great deal to me if you'd look. Are you gonna hold on while I do it? I'm not gonna pay for this call. Take your time, I said. He took 17 minutes. I just hung on, listening. Every so often, I hear a footstep, or a crash of books, or a grunt. Ugh. Finally, well, and I got the Florines like I thought. So close, but not the English. And suddenly he's yelling at me. What, are you crazy? I break my back. And he says, I haven't got it. Yes, I got it. I got it right here. Believe me, it's going to cost a pretty penny. Great. Really, no kidding. Now listen, here's what you do. Get yourself a cab. Tell him to take the book straight up to Park and Mr. California Meshuggah. You listen now. It's coming up a blizzard, and I'm going no place, and neither are these books without money. $6.50 on the barrel each. You want the English? You got to take the Florines, and I close at 6. These books don't leave my premises without $13 changing hands. Don't move, I said, hanging up. And who do you call when it's after hours and Christmas is on the horizon? Only your lawyer. Charlie, I said when I got him, please do me this. Go to 4th Avenue, Abramowitz's, give him $13 for 2 books, taxi up to my house, tell the doorman to take them to my apartment, and yes, I know it's snowing. What do you say? That is such a bizarre request, I have to agree to do it. I called Abramowitz yet again. My lawyer's hot on the trail. No checks, Abramowitz said. You're all heart. I hung up and started figuring. More or less 120 minutes long distance at $1.35 per first 3 minutes, plus 13 for the books, plus probably 10 for Charlie's taxi, plus probably 60 for his time, came to 250 maybe. All for my Jason to have the Morgenstern. I leaned back and closed my eyes. 250, not to mention 2 solid hours of torment and anguish, and let's not forget Sandy Sterling. It was a steal. They called me at 7:30. I was in my suite. He loves the bike, Ellen said. He's practically out of control. Fabbo, I said. And your books came. What books? I said. Chevalier was never more casual. The Princess Bride, in various languages, one of them. Fortunately, it was English. Well, that's nice, I said, still loose. I practically forgot I asked to have them sent. How'd they get here? Oh, I called my editor's secretary and had her scrounge up a couple copies. Maybe they had them at Harcourt. Who knows? They did have copies at Harcourt. Can you buy that? I'll get to why the next page is probably. Give me the kid. Hi, he said a second later. Listen, Jason, I told him, we thought about giving you a bike for your birthday, but we decided against it. Boy, are you wrong. I got one already. Jason has inherited his mother's total lack of humor. I don't know. Maybe he's funny and I'm not. We just don't laugh much together is all I can say for sure. My son Jason is this incredible looking kid. Paint him yellow, he'd mop up for the school sumo team. He's a blimp. All the time stuffing his face. I watch my weight and old Helen's only visible full front, plus on top of which she's this leading child shrink in Manhattan. Our kid can roll faster than he can walk. He's expressing himself through food, Helen always says. His anxieties. When he feels ready to cope, he'll slim down. Hey, Jason, Mom tells me this book arrived today. The princess thing? I'd sure like it if maybe you'd give it a read while I'm gone. I loved it when I was a kid and kind of interested in your reaction. Do I have to love it too? He was his mother's son, all right. Jason, no, just the truth. Exactly what you think. I miss you, Big Shot, and I'll talk to you on your birthday. Boy, are you wrong. Today is my birthday. We bantered a bit more, long past when there was much to say. Then I did the same with my spouse and hung up, promising a return by the end of 1 week. It took 2. Conferences dragged. Producers got inspirations that had to carefully get shot down. Directors needed their egos soothed. Anyway, I was longer than anticipated in sunny town. Finally, though, I was allowed to return to the care and safety of the family, so I quick buzzed to LA Airport before anybody's mind changed. I got there early, which I always do when I come back, because I had to load up my pockets with doodads and such for Jason. Every time I get home from a trip, he waddles, to me hollering, let me see the pockets! And then he goes through all my pockets, taking out his graft, which means bribery stuff. And then once the loot is totaled, he gives me a nice hug. Isn't it awful what we'll do in this world to feel wanted? Let me see the pockets! Jason shouted, moving to me across the foyer. It was a supper-time Thursday, and while we went through this ritual, Helen emerged from the library and kissed my cheek, going, what a dashing-looking fellow I have. Which is also a ritual, and laden with gifts, Jason kind of hugged me and waddled off, to his room. Angelica's just getting dinner on, Helen said. You couldn't have timed it better. Angelica? Helen put her finger to her lips and whispered, it's her 3rd day on, but I think she may be a treasure. I whispered back, what was wrong with the treasure we had when I left? She'd only been with us a week then. She proved a disappointment, Helen said. That was all. Helen's this brilliant lady. Junior Phi Beta in college, every academic honor conceivable. Really, an intellect of startling breadth and accomplishment. Only she can't keep a maid. First, I guess she feels guilty having anybody, since most of the anybodies available nowadays are black or Spanish, and Helen is ultra super liberal. Second, she's so efficient, she scares them. She can do everything better than they can, and she knows it, and she knows they know it. Third, once she's got them panicked, she tries to explain, being an analyst, why they shouldn't be frightened. And after a good solid half-hour ego search with Helen, they're really frightened. Anyway, we've had an average of 4 treasures a year for the last few years. We've been running in bad luck, but it'll change, I said, just as reassuringly as I knew how. I used to heckle her about the health problem, but I learned that was not necessarily wise. Dinner was ready a little later, and with an arm around my wife and an arm around my son, I advanced toward the dining room. I felt, at that moment, safe, secure, all the nice things. Supper was on the table, creamed spinach, mashed potatoes, gravy, pot roast. Terrific, except I don't like pot roast, since I'm a rare meat man. But creamed spinach I have a lech for, so all in all, a more than edible spread was set across the tablecloth. We sat. Helen served the meat. The rest we passed. My pot roast slice was not terribly moist, but the gravy could compensate. Helen rang. Angelica appeared. Maybe 20 or 18, swarthy, slow-moving. Angelica, Helen began, this is Mr. Goldman. I smiled and said, waved a fork. She nodded back. Angelica, this is not to be construed as criticism, since what happened is all my fault. But in the future, we must both try very hard to remember that Mr. Goldman likes his roast beef rare. This was roast beef? I said. Helen shot me a look. Now, Angelica, there's no problem, and I should have told you more than once about Mr. Goldman's preferences. That next time we have boned rib roast, let's all do our best to make the middle pink, shall we? Angelica backed into the kitchen. Yep, another treasure down the tubes. Remember now, we all 3 started this meal happy. 2 of us are left in that state, Helen clearly being distraught. Jason was piling the mashed potatoes on his plate with a practiced and steady motion. I smiled at my kid. Hey, I tried. Let's go a little easy, huh, fella? He splatted another fat spoonful onto his plate. Jason, they're just loaded, I said then. I'm really hungry, Dad, he said, not looking at me. Okay, fill up on the meat then, why don't you? Eat all the meat you want. I won't say a word. Well, I'm not eating nothing, Jason said, and he shoved his plate away and folded his arms and stared off into space. If I were a furniture salesperson, Helen said to me, or perhaps a teller in a bank, I can understand. But how can you have spent all these years married to a psychiatrist and talk like that? You're out of the dark ages, Willie. Helen, the boy's overweight. All I suggested was he might leave a few potatoes for the rest of the world and stuff on this lovely prime pot roast your treasure has whipped up for my triumphant return. Willie, I don't want to shock you, but Jason happens to have not only a very fine mind, but also exceptionally keen eyesight. When he looks at himself in the mirror, I assure you he knows he is not slender. That is because he does not choose at this stage to be slender. He's not that far from dating Helen. What then? Jason is 10, darling, and not interested at this stage in girls. At this stage, he's interested in rocketry. What difference does a slight case of overweight make to a rocket lover? When he chooses to be slender, I assure you he has both the intelligence and the willpower to become slender. Until that time, please, in my presence, do not frustrate the child. Sandy Sterling in her bikini was dancing behind my eyes. I'm not eating, and that's it, Jason said then. Sweet child, Helen said to the kid, in that tone she reserves on this earth only for such moments. Be logical. If you do not eat your potatoes, you will be upset, and I will be upset. Your father clearly is already upset. If you do eat your potatoes, I shall be pleased. You will be pleased. Your tummy will be pleased. We can do nothing about your father. You have it in your power to upset all or one, about whom, as I've already said, we can do nothing. Therefore, the conclusion should be clear. But I have faith in your ability to reach it yourself. Do what you want, Jason. He began to stuff it in. You're making a poof out of that kid, I said. Only not loud enough for anybody but me and Sandy to hear. Then I took a deep, deep breath, because whenever I come home, there's always trouble, which is because, Helen says, I bring tension with me. I always need inhuman proof that I've been missed, and I'm still needed, loved, etc. All I know is I hate being away, but coming home is the worst. There's never really much chance to get into, well, what's new since I'm gone, chit-chat, since that Helen and I talk every night anyway. I'll bet you're a whiz on that bike, I said then. Maybe we'll go for a ride this weekend. Jason looked up from his potatoes. I really love the book, Dad. It was great. I was surprised that he said it, because naturally, I was just starting to work my way into that subject matter. But then, as Helen's always saying, Jason ain't no dummy. Well, I'm glad, I said. Was I ever? Jason nodded. Maybe it's even the best I read in all my life. I nibbled away at my spinach. What was your favorite part? Chapter 1, Bride, Jason said. Well, that really surprised me. I mean, not that chapter 1 stinks or anything, but there's not that much that goes on compared to the incredible stuff later. Buttercup grows up mostly is all. How about the climb up the cliffs of insanity? I said. That's in chapter 5. Great, Jason said. And that description of Prince Humperdinck's Zoo of Death? That's in the 2nd chapter. Even greater, Jason said. What knocked me out about it, I said, was that it's this very short little passage on the Zoo of Death, but yet somehow you just know it's going to figure in later. Did you get that same feeling? Uh-huh, Jason nodded. Great. By then I knew he hadn't read it. 2 things. One, anytime someone tells you the favorite part of a book is the first chapter, what clue does that give you?
They haven't
They'll
read
be read
the
the first chapter.
Very seldom is the first chapter the best chapter. And 2, those of you who've seen the movie, you should not be familiar with the Zoo of Death, because that's one of the big things that happens in the book. That's not in the movie. They had to cut out. That's awesome. It's a zoo of death. It's as much fun as it sounds. Have you stopped there? We're going to finish the introduction tomorrow and get into the actual Princess Bride. We only have like 3 pages left. It's going to be awesome. Mr. Butler's going to come around and have you gently place the books back in there so we don't jank them all up. No one likes a good jank.
I'm really excited to get out of this place. It's so boring.
James out your book, Chloe.
I woke up this morning and I had
Chloe janked my book.
this report.
Mentally, like, beating you down.
I was, it's like,
Should I stop it? It's gonna be like.
Yes. Good call, Gabby.